Well, this showdown between Port Adelaide and Central District has been literally bursting with emotion. The Bulldog fans are now expecting their first ever win, and the Magpies, of course, will accept nothing less than seeing in the power with their 34th, another premiership. We've had the drama of suspensions, of injuries, and the colour of yesterday's motorcade. And today, on the SANFL's biggest day out, that emotion will surely come to a head. Well, good afternoon to you and welcome to Football Park here in Adelaide, South Australia. It's great to have your company. I'm Stephen Trigg and I have the great pleasure of hosting you through what should be a fabulous afternoon. The prize this afternoon, it's very easy really. It's this little baby here, the Thomas Seymour Hill Trophy, and it's on offer in about 3 hours' time. In about 3 hours' time, it'll be either Ginniver or Girdham holding it up there, and a bit later it'll be some champagne. Let's go straight down to the central rooms. There's a fair bit of work to do before the cup's held aloft. And you can see down there that there'd be a few nerves in that Bulldogs locker room. It's their second in a row, the second grand final in a row. And this year, they're hoping to go one better. Certainly, Stephen, right in his first year, would like them to go one better.
Steve, this is familiar territory. You've won 2 out of the last 3 grand finals in Tasmania with Clarence. But then you were a player. Today, you're a coach. Is it any different for you as a coach?
Oh, it's a lot easier game up here. You're sitting in the coaching box and you can see what players are doing and what they should be doing. So I've told the players it's a lot easier for me than what it is for them. But my job is just to try and teach them the correct things and tell them the things they've done wrong.
You've almost had a perfect preparation coming into today's grand final with a week off, then the second semi-final. You won that well. You've had another week off. Your older boys particularly must be jumping out of their skin.
I've never made it a secret that we've got some older players. We've got some players who played the game very hard in Potter and Girdham, just to name a few. So the break's going to do them the world of good. And come 2:20 on Sunday, they'll be jumping out of their skin. 3 guys that missed last year's grand final: Potter, Jimmy Wind, and Peter Green. Have they spoken to you about their involvement today? I've spoken to them. I spoke to them about how disappointing it was for them to miss out. And I just asked them during the week on the training track to be the most enthusiastic people because they know what it's like to miss out. And what's the attitude been like at training this week? Have they been pretty uptight or have they been fairly relaxed, the boys? Oh, pretty relaxed. I tried to make it as relaxed as possible. I believe if when you're at training you can have a bit of fun, as long as when it's time to do some work, you do the work.
They'll have some fun if they win, all right. The Bulldogs locker room, that is the key for them. They have to match, and if preferable, better that intensity that Port Adelaide generate and the surge that always comes at you. Sort of a mismatch in a way. 34th premiership Port Adelaide are aiming for. Central District are aiming for their first, and Stephen Williams is in his first year as the senior coach at Port Adelaide.
Steve, you came into this final series as the underdog in virtually every game. You've won your way through in typical Port Adelaide style.
Yeah, we haven't been the fancy team, but that suits us down to the ground. We've come through with adversity before, and there's no reason why we can't do it again today.
The emotion of stealing that game last week on the siren really must have buoyed the club all week. The humour must have been terrific on the track, and the players would be very confident. It's really pumped the club up. I said to the guys afterwards, it's probably one that we pinched. A lot of people thought perhaps we didn't deserve to be there, but we know we did. We're there now, and last week's fantastic win is just wasted if we don't go on with it today. Now, you haven't beaten Central this year. The record stands at 4-zip. Why can you turn it around in the grand final?
4-zip, it's not good on our point, but a grand final's a different game. We're confident. We beat Central's last year. I think our side's as good this year, and with the experience we've got, that know-how of winning premierships, it's just those little 1% things that get you over the line in grand finals, and I'm pretty sure we've got the players that can do it for us today.
Your father, Foss, coached 9 Port Adelaide premiership teams, was a champion of the club. You've got your chance to get one. Do you realise how great his achievement is now that you're sitting in the same seat? Yeah, it's fantastic to think of the pressure that's on you. Just last week's game, it's unbelievable, and to know that Dad's done it, 9 occasions is just an unbelievable feat. So, it's something that makes you appreciate it even more when you think about it like that.
It's a great achievement, isn't it, as we see Port Adelaide warming up. Stephen Carter on the right of screen there, but Foss Williams, 9 premierships. Of course, he took over from Jack Cale, who won 10. So there's some pretty big shoes to fill in there as we see the parachutists coming down. There's lots of colour here today. And as you can see, there'd be a breeze anyway, but from right to left of screen, there's a bit of a southerly blowing. We'll get a report from Mark Nully in just a moment. And a big cheer goes up as the Honeymans hit the deck. Over 1,700 jumps for that man on screen there. And he has successfully made it down. There's Mick Honeyman now. Pretty much spot on, isn't it? Certain amount of madness, I reckon, jumping from that height. I reckon I'd rather run into a Scott Hodges shirt front personally, but they've done well from a very lofty height and come in right smack bang into the centre of Football Park. So joining us this afternoon also on our premiership team is 3 times premiership winner with Carlton, Ken Sheldon. Good afternoon to you. And Ken, talking about Stephen Williams with his father Foss with 9 and Jack with 10, they're just huge shoes.
Well, they certainly are huge shoes to fill. It's a lot of pressure, I guess, on Stephen, but the Port Adelaide Football Club, in making that appointment early in the season, they have a great deal of faith. There's a great deal of togetherness for Port Adelaide. They really are focused, and I'm sure win or lose, a great deal of it won't be to the detriment of Stephen Williams.
For Central District to win this premiership, they're going to have beaten Port Adelaide 5 times, which is just extraordinary within the context of 1 year. They beat them by 27 points, the Bulldogs, in round 11, round 2, I beg your pardon. In round 11, it was by 21. In round 20, it was by 10 points. And that's the one that you were impressed with. They came from behind.
Yes, they were 31 points behind at 3/4 time at the Elizabeth Oval, and the Bulldogs just come from nowhere to win that game by 10 points.
It's just a magnificent day for football because from the players' perspective, it's a little overcast, there's a little southwesterly breeze, and the current temperature is around 15.5 degrees. We've been into the Port rooms, we've been into the Central rooms, jangling nerves. There's bound to be the same in the umpires' room.
The 3 grand final umpires, Richard Williams, Michael Avon and Troy Burton. Richard, first to you. You looking forward to today's game?
Yeah, it should be a fantastic day. Couldn't get better weather and ground looks good. Both teams are pretty pumped, so we should have a good game.
What's your expectation of the opening 5 or 10 minutes of the game? Do you think it'll be pretty busy?
I think everyone's spot on. It's going to be very hard footy.
And Michael, this for you is your first grand final.
That's right.
You know, you don't really know what to expect, but I suppose the older guys have told you what's coming at you.
Oh, they have, yes. They've helped me all season.
And how's the nerves?
Oh, I had a shocking night last night, up 4 or 5 times.
Did you get any sleep at all?
Yeah, I got a few hours.
And what about breakfast this morning? Do we get much down?
Bowl of cornflakes.
Just enough to get you through the game. Troy, I suppose for you, 10 years umpiring, this is just another game, but it's not.
No, certainly not. No, it's going to be a lot different, big atmosphere, and the teams will be going pretty hard, so it should be a good day.
You seem pretty relaxed. You don't seem to have any nerves at all. You, nice man.
Oh, I've just flushed that, David, so it should be okay.
Good luck today, fellas. Hope it's a great day. We're not going to see any soft free kicks, I'm told.
No, we'll do what you want, Macca.
Now, what about the send-off rule?
Well, hopefully we won't have to use it.
Only on me.
Only you.
Good on you. See you, fellas. Good luck.
See ya.
Thanks.
Well, the umpires are out on the ground, and so too are Central District. Look at that for a banner. The Bulldog blitz. Well, I reckon they'd be happy to get home by a point, to be honest with you. In their 34th year, they'd be just happy to get home. But there's an enormous amount of expectation on them, Ken. In terms of last year, they made it to the grand final, but perhaps not the expectation this year. The fans expect them to win.
Well, I think there's no doubt that this is, in fact, the best Central District team that they could assemble on the park. They are ready. Today is the day that they must come home with the bacon.
And one of the news flashes we've just got is that David Flood is not playing for Central District. Number 5 is out as we see the balloons hit the air. But that is a blow for the Dogs.
That is a big blow. David Flood is a very, very good player, key forward for the Bulldogs. However, he was not a part of the second semi-final team, so perhaps to his disadvantage, but somebody else really has something to play for now.
So we've got Flood down on the bottom right-hand corner there, lined up in a full forward pocket, but he's not going to be playing, we're told, unless there's 1 or 2 shifties going on. But at the moment it reads Lee, Hicks and Wakeland, and Wakeland's a question mark as to where he plays as well, be it backwards or forwards. Across centre they look great with Saywell, McGowan and Stevens.
Well, that is really where the game will be won or lost, because the Port Adelaide side are tremendous strength across there as well. But Saywell, he's a youngster in tremendous form. McGowan, the player of the year. And up forward, they have Big Conway, who is just magnificent. A very tall player and very accurate with the left foot.
Conway's going to be important, isn't he? Roger Girdham, little Captain Kamikaze there. That's not Roger Girdham, that's just a mascot. And Roger is going to be so important to them today, though. That's a great look, isn't it? Plenty of colour out in the car parks. And the Maggies have been eaten alive by the look of it already. Now, Port Adelaide's side, they lost Poole through suspension, and that has been the talk of the week.
It really has been the talk of the week, no question about that. But again, if that fist hadn't been thrown, would Port Adelaide have been in this year's grand final?
Well, we'll talk about that as the day unfolds, but their full back line is Fiachi, Delaney and Mead. Then they have the experience of North East Lees and the young fellow in Figott, first year for him. Across centre, they're wonderfully experienced and a bit of pace there as well. So what do you think? Will Wilson pick up McGowan?
I've no doubt that he'll go with somebody. Perhaps McGowan will be the man. And when you put Brown and Ginniver into that midfield strength of Port Adelaide, it really is something special. And up forward, of course, they have two of the most experienced and best forwards in the competition, Darren Smith, and at full forward, Scott Hodges.
110 goals for Hodges this year. Tim Ginniver named as a first rover. He looked very, very sore to me last week, and he's the man. 6 premierships for Timmy. He's the catalyst. If he's sore, they've got a problem.
They have, but what they really do need from the likes of Ginniver is that significance. When something's there, an opportunity is there, the seniority, those players really can make the most of an opportunity. Ginniver is one. He will initiate something somewhere, and Port Adelaide will be the recipient of that good work. A great leader.
Already, it starts to sound a little like Wembley in June, because we've got the Central chant up and the Port Adelaide chant now goes up. It's just a great atmosphere here. And the question for you, Ken, as we wait for Port Adelaide to come out, Central just seem to have everything in their favour. Poole is out. They're well rested. They've got the taste last year. Port Adelaide are tired. Surely it couldn't be better set for them than today.
No, today is the day of the Bulldog. If they can't win one today, well, really they will. It'll be serious problems up in the northern suburbs. They have to win today. And as you said, the stage is truly set.
Let me put the question to you. The rest has seen Central District have pretty much so much of a break that they've had only 2 games in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Port Adelaide have done it the tough way, including a bruiser last week against Norwood. Whose is the best preparation?
Well, I believe it's always a team that can go straight in. But, of course, there's sides that have won from all sorts of positions. But Port Adelaide certainly have had a very difficult run. They have their senior players supposedly perhaps carrying some injuries. The Bulldogs have had the easiest, the most comfortable, and they are at full strength here today.
So the big roar is for Port Adelaide as they hit the deck. The context of things will change a little next year as they go through. Look at that for a side here at Football Park. Things will change so slightly next year when the Port Power come along, the big brother. But this Port Adelaide side, particularly with the last couple of premierships, is so wonderfully courageous. It can never be said that this Port Adelaide side is beaten, Ken. And we're not talking about the past, we're talking about that core of players out there on the deck at the moment.
Well, there's a great deal of experience. The never stay die attitude is there. It was evidenced in last week's preliminary final with Hodges kicking that final goal. Just a magnificent, strong team. The group dynamics of this team, the togetherness is something special.
Delaney on screen there. 5 and 6 premierships for players like Borlase, Smith, Delaney, Fiachi, Northeast, Hodges. There's just so much experience there. They know exactly what they're doing. And speaking of knowing what he's doing, Greg Champion's down on the boundary at the moment and singing us a little ditty.
Friend, and well, that's the thing about, that's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football. Oh, I'll meet a friend outside the ground. We'll argue over who's gonna win. He'll go for his team, I for mine. We'll watch him slug it out right till the end and show me the crowd and I'll take my place. I'm hungry for the taste of it. And well, that's the thing about, that's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football. That's what football means to me. That's how I like my footy to be. And hey, that's the thing about, that's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football. Oh, I got a long road to walk down, to catch a tram to my favorite ground. Use my legs, use my voice, make some noise, support the boys, and that's what football means to me. That's how I like my footy to be. Yeah, hey, that's the thing about, that's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football, yes. That's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about the thing about football now. That's what I like about, yeah, that's the thing about football.
Yes, let's hear the great champion, Reggie Cole. Pretty much become synonymous with grand finals. Great champion there. The thing we like about football. The thing we like about football is a magnificent deck here at Football Park. Beautiful weather, a capacity crowd, a sellout crowd, and two heavyweights going head-to-head. It couldn't be any better.
The thing I like about football is that Premiership Cup, when it's held up there this afternoon. One of those captains, Gurdam or Jim Miller, will have the privilege of doing so.
In about 3 hours' time, a man who's also been there, done that, is Mark Nailey. Nails, what about the ground conditions? It looks pretty good from up here. So Nails is being drowned out there by the crowd, I reckon. But we're just about set. Players at either ends are doing their warm-up. Central District, I'm sure, the mindset for them at the moment, Ken, would be probably that everything is so much in their favour. I wonder if it works against them in a funny way.
I don't think so. I think the composure, the togetherness of this team, the focus that they have, the mission that they have, I think they truly are set. They'll be out there at the moment absorbing the euphoria of soaking up the atmosphere. When the toss is selected as to who's going to win, they know where they're going to kick, they know where they'll position, they'll really then focus up on the first bounce of that football.
Now, last year, Roger Gurdam there on screen, number 10, the Bulldog captain, won the toss and kicked into the breeze. But this year, you'd expect if he wins it, he'd do something a little different. The toss by Josh Franco. And Mark Nailey's down there and will tell us all about what's happened as Roger Gurdam wins it and kicks with a breeze, Nails.
Yes, Roger Gurdam's won the toss down here. He's kicking to the northern end, which is favouring by about a 2 or 3 goal breeze down here in the middle of the ground.
What about the condition of the ground itself, Mark? Looks pretty firm from here.
Absolutely sensational condition. Yeah, the surface is perfect, just that slight bit of breeze, but I'll tell you now, both sides are very pumped up, and I reckon it'll be a great opening to this game.
What sort of voice can you hear down there, Mark? What sort of things are being said?
Well, the Port players are pretty focused, so are the Central's players. Not too many words have been said, but just look at the expressions on their faces. They want to play football this afternoon and win the grand final.
Now, the toss has favoured Central, Ken. That's a good start for them.
Well, we've seen in the reserves where Port Adelaide were 28-point victors over Norwood to left of screen. There probably is a 2 or 3 goal advantage, as Mark Nailey called. So, you know, I think that toss is a very handy win.
Well, as you said, Port Adelaide won the reserves, and we heard that familiar tune of theirs, the club song, ringing out around Football Park, as we've done at 5 o'clock on the first Sunday in October for the last couple of years as Central District go into the huddle. They've got to get themselves lined up in a moment. What goes through the mind now?
Well, it's total focus now. That man there, Schaefer, in screen, very vital to the Bulldogs' opportunity. Number 2 on screen, the big ruckman, cross from Richmond this year, has had a big influence and will give his smaller players, such as McGowan, Gurdam, first use of the footy, a vital role has he to play today.
The tummies would be turning now, there's no doubt about it, as they line up on opposite ends of the square, as Greek champion gets organised and people stand to their feet, ready for the national anthem.
Oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing,
about 3 hours' time, that never fails to send a little shiver up the spine. A magnificent rendition there, and it wasn't actually Greg Champion who was on the lead vocal, it was Becky Cole, country and western singer. We're all set now. And in commentary this afternoon, before we pick up the game, I'm just going to ask David Mackay, who's calling this afternoon, a quick tip, DB.
I've gone for Central's, Triggy. I've tipped them by a goal. I think this match will be a very, very close one. And if ever the Bulldogs are going to get on the board, it'll be today.
Go down to Mark Nailey. And Mark, your tip?
My tip's going to be Central this afternoon by around about, I reckon, between 20 and 30 points.
So 2-0. And Ken Sheldon is in the special comments chair. Ken, yourself?
Well, I believe it's a ready-made day for the Bulldogs, and I've tipped them by at least 5 goals.
Well, I've seen Port Adelaide, through that man in particular, Scott Hodges, come back so many times in the past. You just can't write them off, a la last week. If you joined us right at the head of our coverage this afternoon, he kicked a goal, the second to last kick last week, and Hodges nailed it. He's the key factor. Damien Hicks has done well on him so far, but he's really got his hands full today. And if you went to centre bet,